Last season ended with a shock no one saw coming. The couple had just survived another whirlwind of misunderstandings, family drama, and those moments where you sit there yelling at the screen. Are you serious right now? You know exactly the kind of chaos I mean. One minute, they were planning their future like everything was fine, and the next, the tension was so thick you could cut it with a knife. Arguments flared over trust, over tiny slights, over decisions that honestly, from the outside, looked completely avoidable. But if you've been watching, you know these fights aren't just random. They're a pattern, a history of simmering resentment that occasionally boils over in spectacular fashion. Now, stepping into this new season, the stakes feel higher. We're talking relationships that have been tested by distance, culture shocks, and the public eye. Everyone has their own baggage packed into these episodes. On one side, we have the person trying to navigate their partner's past, their family, and the weight of expectations. On the other, someone who feels cornered, frustrated, and desperate for validation, all while millions of viewers are silently judging every move. It's a pressure cooker, and you know what they say. Pressure makes diamonds or explosions. And in this case, probably the latter. Last episode gave us glimpses of cracks that were mostly under the surface before. Subtle comments that seemed harmless at first suddenly felt like little darts, poking at old wounds. Jealousy crept in around things that, again, seemed small, but anyone who's ever been in a relationship knows it's never really the small things. It's what they represent. Loyalty, respect, boundaries, promises made and broken. And this couple, well, they've had their share of both sides of the coin. Moments of heartfelt connection, quickly undercut by misunderstandings that could make even the calmest viewer's head spin. And let's not forget the family dynamics. Every member brings a personality that adds fuel to the fire. Some are the voice of reason, some are the instigator, and others just enjoy watching chaos unfold, probably live tweeting it while eating popcorn. The patterns repeat, and it's fascinating, almost like watching a slow-motion train wreck, except you can't look away. You can almost see the psychological push and pull happening in real time. One partner wants closeness, the other pulls away, and the tension reverberates across every scene. This season is opening with all of that pressure already in the air. But something feels different. The usual cycle of misunderstanding and reconciliation seems on the verge of snapping. You can feel the weight of past mistakes and unspoken frustrations hovering over every interaction. And if you've been following this story closely, you know how quickly things can escalate from awkward silences to full-blown confrontations. Just when you thought the drama might calm down for a minute, something happened that no one was prepared for, and it changed everything moving forward. Everything came to a head this week, and if you've been following this, you know this hits hard. One moment, everything seemed like it was just another messy argument. The next, the betrayal hit like a thunderclap. Ultimatums were thrown around with a calmness that made your jaw drop. You could almost hear the collective gasp of viewers at home. The way one partner stood their ground, refusing to budge on what they needed, left the other visibly shaken, caught between shock and outrage. And yet, somehow, the calmness made it even worse. There's something about a measured delivery of harsh words that stings more than screaming and shouting ever could. It's that cold, calculated energy, the kind that tells you this isn't just drama, it's deliberate. Fans online exploded. Twitter threads lit up, TikTok compilations appeared, and YouTube comments were a mix of support, outrage, and theories about what's really happening behind the cameras. Some said it was long overdue. Others called it a betrayal that would end the season before it even got interesting. The psychology of the moment is fascinating. When someone sets a boundary this firmly, it shifts the power dynamics completely. Suddenly, The person who used to feel cornered or in control now has to respond, not just react. You can see it in the way the other partner hesitates, recalculates, and tries to figure out whether this is a bluff, a test, or the real deal. And here's the part that has everyone talking online. The tension didn't just stop at words. Actions followed. One partner made moves that were visibly shocking, gestures that seemed small on the surface but carried enormous symbolic weight. You could see the emotional toll in their posture, in the fleeting expressions that lasted only seconds but told a story of frustration, confusion, and a hint of defiance. If you've ever been in a fight where you felt powerless, you know how exhausting it is, even without cameras watching. Now imagine doing it with millions of strangers, judging every expression, every syllable, every pause. Then there's the way social media reacted to the subtler dynamics. Fans were dissecting micro-expressions, replaying short clips over and over. Some argued that one partner was unfairly vilified. Others insisted the boundary was overdue and healthy. It's fascinating because even without any real private context, viewers feel invested enough to take sides, defend loyalty, and predict outcomes. The split opinions highlight why reality TV thrives on this tension. Conflict isn't just entertainment, it's a mirror for our own ideas about fairness, loyalty, and self-respect. At one point, the conversation escalated to a moment of pure shock. You could see the other partner's disbelief radiating through the screen. They tried reasoning, tried humor, tried to downplay it. And yet every move only seemed to cement the first partner's stance. Watching it unfold, you get a sense of how stress affects decision-making. When emotions run high and the stakes feel existential for a relationship, even small slights or miscommunications can trigger enormous reactions. The pattern repeats itself in every reality show conflict: an ultimatum, a misread signal, a miscalculated attempt to regain control, and suddenly, the situation is spiraling. This week's episode also brought up the family factor, which has always been a silent pressure. When one partner's relatives step in, sometimes subtly, sometimes overtly, it adds layers of tension that can make resolution nearly impossible. You could see the subtle ways comments, gestures, or opinions escalated the emotional stakes. The combination of past grievances, personal ambitions, and external voices created a cocktail that left viewers on edge. Some fans called it toxic, others called it inevitable. Either way, it created a perfect storm, and just when you thought the tension might ease, the next twist hit. One partner revealed a decision that nobody expected, a move so bold it reframed the entire episode. The shock wasn't just in the act itself, but in the calm certainty with which it was delivered. If you've watched this series, you know how rare that is. Most confrontations come with tears, screaming, or visible desperation. But here, the emotional punch was delivered with a quiet authority, and that's the part that makes everyone stop and rethink the whole story. Online, fans are divided over what this means for the relationship. Some argue that the boundary is healthy and necessary. Others see it as evidence that the bond is fraying beyond repair. The debate continues, and clips are shared with captions like, "Did you see that?" Or, "I can't believe this actually happened." It's fascinating because the emotional fallout isn't contained to the screen, it leaks into conversations, memes, and social commentary. The impact of one bold decision ripples through the audience's collective judgment, creating a pressure cooker of opinions that mirrors the on-screen conflict. As the episode progressed, the subtle behaviors, the side glances, the tone of voice, the micro-movements, spoke volumes. You could see the psychological layers: frustration trying to mask fear, defensiveness hiding vulnerability, pride conflicting with affection. Watching them, you realize how much of the drama isn't what's said, but how it's said. And here, the combination of public exposure and personal emotion amplifies every single gesture. The result is a scene that's gripping, uncomfortable, and impossible to turn away from. Even in moments of calm, tension lingered. There were pauses where both partners appeared to reconsider, but every attempt to soften the situation was met with firmness or subtle resistance. The dynamic shifted visibly. The scales of power were in motion, and viewers could feel it. Every comment, every glance, every calculated word built anticipation for what was coming next. It was a psychological chess match played out on reality TV, where emotions were both the moves and the stakes. And just when you thought the episode might end with some resolution, the final moments delivered another curveball. One partner's choice hinted at larger consequences that could echo for the rest of the season. Fans are already speculating wildly, replaying the last minute over and over, trying to predict how this will change the game. The tension is palpable, and the emotional fallout is only beginning. Every relationship beat has been layered with history, pressure, and personal stakes, leaving viewers on edge, waiting for the next twist to land. The fallout from this episode didn't just shake the couple, it sent ripples through the entire production. Producers who usually have a plan for every scene suddenly had to pause and rethink everything. Shows like this rely on predictable tension, on conflicts that build and resolve just enough to keep viewers hooked. When the main players start issuing ultimatums and acting unpredictably, it throws every plan into chaos. Suddenly, the stakes aren't just emotional, they're logistical, contractual, and financial. Filming schedules, story arcs, even marketing campaigns are on the line, because the network depends on the central relationship holding up enough to carry the season. If you look back at previous seasons, the same couple had moments of tension, yes, but they always seemed to resolve, or at least settle temporarily, before filming the next episode. That made it safe for producers to continue building narratives around them. This season is different. The conflicts are sharper, the boundaries firmer, and the emotional stakes higher. Every episode now carries the possibility that one partner might walk off set or refuse to participate in key storylines, which is a nightmare scenario for any reality production. The network is likely weighing a few strategic options. One approach could be to continue filming, while minimizing scenes with both of them together, which keeps the season moving but changes the feel of the show. Another option might be to pivot focus to other cast members, bringing them to the forefront while the central relationship cools down. And in the extreme scenario, the network might even consider shortening the season or restructuring it entirely to avoid the risk of prolonged disruption. Each choice comes with its own costs, both in money and in audience trust. From a psychological standpoint, you can see why this escalation is happening. Stress, public scrutiny, and years of unresolved tension are colliding with newfound boundaries and personal growth. The partner who's setting limits is asserting autonomy that previously didn't exist. The other partner, who may have relied on the old dynamics, is forced to adjust in real time to a situation they cannot control. Watching them, it's clear that the behavior isn't random. It's a natural reaction to pressure, history, and the stress of constant filming. Fans online are dissecting every angle. Clips of the episode circulate with captions like, "Did you see the network scramble?" or "This changes everything for the season." Even casual viewers are noticing that the show feels different. It's no longer a series of predictable highs and lows. Now every scene carries real risk, uncertainty, and weight. The drama on screen reflects real-world consequences, and that adds a new layer of suspense for the audience. Contractual and ethical considerations also come into play. Reality networks are careful not to push cast members into situations that could be legally or psychologically problematic. When a partner refuses to film or publicly sets conditions, the network must respond cautiously to avoid claims of harassment, coercion, or unsafe working conditions. Producers now have to navigate a tricky balance between creating engaging television and respecting real human boundaries. In some ways, this adds tension not just on camera but behind the scenes, as executives and legal teams work to ensure no misstep spirals into bigger trouble. Looking at past behavior versus what's happening now makes the escalation even clearer. Before, emotional outbursts were part of the pattern, part of the rhythm of reality TV. But now, calculated ultimatums, visible shifts in power, and the refusal to follow old scripts signal a turning point. The stakes have risen from mere drama to something structural. One partner is no longer playing along with the old dynamics, and that forces everyone, from producers to co-stars, to rethink how the show is made. Even subtle production choices now carry weight. Decisions about which scenes to air, which conversations to highlight, and which social media moments to amplify all have the potential to inflame or diffuse tension. Editors are working with material that could have long-term implications for both the season and the individuals involved. What used to be an emotional roller coaster for entertainment is now also a logistical challenge, a legal puzzle, and a psychological test. Fans are obsessed with predicting outcomes. Some speculate the assertive partner will gain the upper hand, reshaping the narrative entirely. Others think the show might fracture, leaving the network scrambling to salvage audience interest. Either way, the energy around this season is different. It's no longer just about who said what or who cried when. It's about power, autonomy, and consequences, all unfolding live on television. So as the episode closed, everyone watching was left with a single question: who comes out on top or loses everything? The answers aren't clear yet, and that uncertainty is what makes the drama impossible to look away from. Fans absolutely lost it after this episode aired. Twitter exploded. Instagram stories were full of heated takes, and TikTok clips had people replaying every tense glance and carefully measured word. Some viewers were cheering for the partner who finally set boundaries, calling it long overdue and a lesson in self-respect. Others couldn't believe it, saying loyalty had been thrown out the window and they were siding with the one left stunned on screen. The split opinions are wild, and it's the kind of debate that keeps people refreshing feeds and diving into comment sections for hours. If you were watching at home, you probably felt torn too. Would you forgive them if you were in their shoes? Or would you walk away the moment someone crossed a boundary that felt unshakable? That's exactly the kind of question fans are arguing over online, and it keeps the conversation alive long after the episode ends. Some fans are analyzing tone, body language, even the pauses between words, trying to decode hidden messages. Others are taking the drama at face value, ready to declare one side the hero and the other the villain. Memes started popping up almost immediately. One side joked about how calm yet ruthless the ultimatum was delivered, captions like, "That stare could end a career." Another mocked the shocked partner with playful sarcasm, highlighting the absurdity of being blindsided on national television. Humor here is part coping, part engagement. People need a way to process the tension without actually crying into their screens. The fan reaction is also influencing how the show is perceived overall. Longtime viewers are debating whether this season feels more authentic or too raw, while newcomers are jumping in to see what the hype is about. Some argue it's a turning point, proof that reality TV can still shock without scripted manipulation. Others wonder if the public airing of such intense personal conflict crosses a line, making them question the ethics of filming. And just when you thought the social media chatter was dying down, new clips and highlight reels reignited it. Comments like, "I cannot believe she said that," and "he handled that so wrong" were trending. Even casual viewers are suddenly invested, trying to guess what will happen next, who will back down, and who will hold firm. Would you step back or double down in a situation like this? Would you forgive them if roles were reversed? These are the kinds of questions fans are asking themselves and arguing over in every comment thread. The tension isn't just on screen, it's spilling into every fan's conversation, making it impossible to ignore. But just when it seems like everyone has formed an opinion, the next twist is something no one saw coming. By the time the credits rolled, the emotional weight of this episode was impossible to ignore. Watching someone finally set firm boundaries while the other reacts in shock makes you feel everything: anger, disbelief, a little sympathy, and even admiration. The power shift is clear, and it changes how you view both people on screen. One moment they're part of a seemingly unbreakable bond, the next, the foundation is cracking in front of millions of viewers. It's a reminder that behavior, not identity, drives the drama, and how we respond under pressure says more about a person than any past conflict ever could. Looking back, every scene carried stakes that went far beyond casual arguments. Ultimatums, cold stares, carefully measured words. They weren't just for the cameras. They revealed true intentions, priorities, and the real cost of long-term tension pushed to the edge. You could see patterns emerging: who tolerates confrontation, who avoids it, and who is willing to put their emotional health above expectations, fame, or even the relationship itself. If you've been following this story, you know these moments hit hard, and the fallout will keep fans talking for weeks. Even the unanswered questions linger. Will boundaries hold? Or will tempers flare again? How will the network adapt to this unpredictable storm? Who is really controlling the narrative now? The cast, the producers, or the audience's reaction? Every episode adds another layer, and nothing feels settled yet. The lessons here are subtle but clear. People change, dynamics shift, and sometimes the healthiest choice is stepping back rather than forcing a resolution. The drama teaches more than entertainment. It shows the consequences of unchecked tension, miscommunication, and high-stakes emotional decisions. The audience sees behavior in real time, and that reflection is part of the draw. And just when you think you've processed everything, the next episode promises to flip the script again. New confrontations, unforeseen alliances, and reactions that could completely upend what you thought was settled are coming. One secret could surface that nobody expects, and it might just break the house apart. Next time, everything changes and one secret could break the whole house apart.